Alright, hello everyone, this is James. We're here on Living for Crits. This is a bit of an unusual setup for me because it's just me, and usually I have other people with me talking or my kids or something, and we're trying something a little different tonight just because I haven't quite figured out yet how to do Twitch on my own or how to do the new YouTube live streaming thing with other people, so you just get me. So I'm sorry. But this is my attempt at a vlog review. So maybe I'm trying to do something a little easier than spend hours writing. I talk about a product that I picked up this week with audio and visual, so video, rather than just write it down. And we'll see how that goes. If it doesn't go well, tell me, and you won't see another one of these ever again. But tonight, or today, whenever you watch this, I'll be discussing Mind Games, and this, Mind Games, is by Reid and Filippo and Shield of Faith Studios, and it is a Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game product that is a third-party product that you can find on DriveThruRPG. And I should note, on the cover, it has the logo for Crawling Under a Broken Moon. And if you read my blog at all over at livingforcrits.com, I post a lot about my Crawling Under a Broken Moon campaign. It just happens to be the group, my road crew group. Every month we meet at the Norway Game Nights and we have a big function there. And my table is the raucous table in the corner playing DCC. And the players in that game, for the most part, are there for the over-the-top action that the far future post-apocalyptic Crawling Under a Broken Moon game gives you. It's just a setting, but there's a bunch of zines. I think they're up to 13 or 14 now. I'm not sure. I have to check that. But there's quite a few of them, and it's everything from you can play post-apocalyptic like road warriors. You can have mutants. There's cyborgs. Since there was no Mutant Crawl Classics yet, it kind of fits that niche, but goes a little bit over the top. Like there's a He-Man type place you can go to, almost like the 80s cartoons are alive and well in Crawling Under a Broken Moon's America. What it didn't have until now was psionics. So I had seen some of the posts by Reid about this product coming out, and I got a little excited because I'm a fan of psionics. And so I have, from my second edition days, this is where psionics started for me. So for me, psionics began with the second edition book. I didn't play first edition, so I'd never seen psionics with that. And then an extension from that, I was a big Dark Sun player. So my beat to heck copy of The Will and the Way, I wonder what this goes for on eBay right now. Probably quite a lot. I have this as well. This spent more time on a bookshelf than it did being played, though. I didn't have... once I got this book, my players... We kind of stopped playing Dark Sun, which is a shame. So I'm a fan of psionics for second edition. When third edition came out with psionics, it felt a lot like Magic to me. I remember my very first campaign that I was a player in. One of our players was a Scion, and all of her powers seemed very similar to, I was a bard, my magic in how they cast. The difficulty class of the saving throw was, of course, variable in the third edition psionics. Then 3.5 changed it. Then 4th really changed it. It just became the same as everything else, daily powers, at-will powers. But what psionics I felt lost in the D20 system as the game moved along was they lost, for D&D, that feeling of being different from magic or wizard magic or cleric magic. And that was I asked for questions for today's vlog review, and that was one of the big questions, was how does it feel different from those other Magic and Dungeon Crawl Classics, and we're going to show you how. I do want to note that I picked up this copy on my own. While I'm not above getting review copies occasionally, I have a hard time committing to doing reviews. I don't really do them. This is my first official review. I will score this at the end, actually. But I didn't want to do a review of something first that I had gotten from somebody else. So this is totally because I love the product and because I feel like it's an important product to discuss. Not to say it's a perfect product. I think there's some things that can be tweaked, a few things that don't quite feel the way maybe they should, but minimal at the most. For the most part, I really enjoy digging into this. I should note on the front cover as well, being crawled under a broken moon, being designed for a post-apocalyptic game. I don't see how these psionic rules couldn't be used in your fantasy games or your horror game or any other way you're going to spin DCC, which is usually pretty crazy and over the top for most campaigns, I'm guessing. I know mine are. And the ones I've been player in have been pretty crazy too. So while the psionics, are native for crawling under a broken moon, really you could put this in any game and it's going to feel just fine. It's not going to feel out of place, unless you don't want psionics in your game, which is important because it does add a different feel to your game. I think in sci-fi settings it feels great. Traditional fantasy, I don't think there were supposed to be scions in Dragonlance. Or Forgotten Realms. It never quite felt the same to me when I played in those. 'Cause, I know when I read, old school fantasy books when I was, younger, my tween and high school and college days, psionics, I didn't even see them in books until I started reading the Dark Sun books, and I didn't really know what they were until I read Dark Sun. Of course, you had psychics and some sci-fi, but not in fantasy. For me, I feel like the psionic system that we're going to discuss in here is definitely going to give a different feel from magic, divine or wizard magic. It's going to have, the mechanics are a bit different and the powers work differently. Whether it's enough for you to feel that it's something that warrants coming in your game or not, that's going to be up for you. So just overall, I'm going to give a quick snapshot and I'm going to actually dig into the product. I'm going to go through section by section and we'll dig around in here and I'll give you my feedback and you can stay for the whole time if you want. But overall, the writing in here, sharp, fun, pretty tight. I enjoyed reading this and I read it cover to cover. I went for a very long walk on Sunday. I had flipped through it after purchasing it, but once I got it printed out, I had a chance to actually read through it page by page. And I really did enjoy reading it. I didn't feel at any point like this is droning on. There's a couple sections with the rules. The psychic dueling threw me off a little bit, but then again, spell dueling in DCC throws me off a bit. It's never happened in one of my games. So for something that never happens, or I don't expect to happen very often, I'm okay with that. I'll discuss psychic dueling in a second. But yeah, I could see all 64 pages of this being kind of slid into the DCC core book if they were going to have an edition and having it fit right in. Heck, even with the art, I'm a sucker for good art. I thought the cover, this is not in color because I printed it at home and that's what I get instead of going to like Kinko's or FedEx Kinko's, whatever they call that now. But the art's fantastic. So the cover art, I enjoyed that. But then I think what got me, and I always like the crazy little piece of art. First off, Claytonian did this. I'm guessing this is a psychic duel in the second page. I love that because it's like two guys kind of just like really angry at each other, just like hating on each other. That was a good piece of art. And then in the back, there's actually an ad. I'm going to share this too. And it's a crawling under a broken moon ad, and it's got this guy, this post-apocalyptic guy saying, "My glasses, no." And buy back issues of Crawling Under a Broken Moon before the apocalypse. Don't let this happen to you. And since I used to watch Twilight Zone with my mom and dad as a kid, that kind of get that the guy that everyone else dies and he's in a vault. That episode, I don't know what it's called. That one, I remember that. So it was like that weird little seed of nostalgia that hit me for this. So I enjoyed both of those immensely. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to dig into this, and this might be lengthy. I have no idea how long this is going to take, so I'm just going to record it in one take, and I'm not editing this because why? All right, So, first off, I want to read the introduction, a piece of it that was written by, I'm guessing Reid wrote this, and it's, psionics had to capture the old school feeling of the original psionics presented in the first and second edition of the first fantasy RPG without being tied to their cryptic complexity. And that's sort of one of the, these pillars that Reid puts down very early on about what he wanted psionics to be and what he didn't want it to be. And if you remember from second edition D&D, when you cast a spell in D&D in second edition, the spell either just happened or monsters got a saving throw or someone was rolling something, but it wasn't, and it was scaled. There was first level, second level, third level spells, so on and so forth. With psionics, a first level character had something really powerful like detonate and just blow something up. And that wasn't unusual. What scaled it was the number of power points that were in the game. And so I expected power points, and they weren't really there. Which is cool. But it sort of does have some mechanics that harken back to the old game, but not quite. So let me discuss how psionics works. And to understanding. So the psion itself, when a psion casts a spell, uses a psionic power, instead of having making a spell check, like a spellcraft roll, what they're doing is they're making a discipline roll. They're using something called their psionic focus, and it's like a deed die for warriors. So when they first start out, it might be a D3, and then they can invest more into that focus, the more powerful they get. So at first level, a psion's only going to have a pair of focus points, and they can add them into one of the 4 psychic disciplines. So you have your psychometabolism, you have clairsentience, you have psychokinesis, and you have telepathy. Okay, so they can pick to either invest 2 of them in one of those pillars, or 1 in 2 of them. So you can say, I'm going to put 1 focus point in clairsentience and 1 in telepathy, or you can put both in telepathy. And each point you invest increased your deed die, your focus die, on that power by a die step. So if you're not familiar with Dungeon Crawl Classics, the game works in die steps. So D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, D8, D10, so on and so forth. Those are the weird die you might hear about, the weird dice you might hear about if you heard of the game from outside the game. So when you are using a power, you're going to go ahead and make that focus roll. You're going to add whatever the attribute is linked to it. So for telepathy, if you leave personality, it's intelligence. I was wrong. I just looked. It's intelligence. So if you're first level and you're using a power, you're going to roll a d20. You're going to add your focus die, which would be a d3 if you just had 1 focus point in there. And you're going to add your intelligence modifier, whatever that is. And you're going to consult the result. One place this differentiates from Magic is in Magic, you're going to be looking at a large spell description where something different is going to happen at every tier of the casting. If you cast a 18, your result is. It's going to be vastly different if you cast a 30 after having all kinds of spell burn or luck thrown in. Not how it works with psionics. With psionics, it's like a deed die. Whatever the result of your focus die is, that's what's going to boost your power. So that's the big difference. I would say that in its current state, psionics appears to be like sort of this psi-burned baby of the warrior deed die and wizard magic with a touch of the divine thrown in there as well. There is something called psi burn. So if you like to burn your characters to a cinder, you can spend more effort. You can throw either intelligence or personality to increase your focus die by a step. So it's not quite the same as adding to the roll directly. You're going to boost the die step. So that's pretty powerful. You can also extend the length of the power if you want to, it's limited in that you can affect multiple attribute points can be burned up to a max of 5 per turn. So you're pretty limited. You're a little limited in how much you can psi burn. Another thing that's interesting is that kind of makes gemstones important for scions. They can spend gold pieces worth of gemstones to do the same psi burn in their stead. So a scion can have a whole sack of gems that they may wish to burn in lieu of their power points. So that was kind of cool. On a roll of a 1, there's this psychic dissonance that happens, and that's similar to if a cleric happens to roll a 1, and they get disapproval. If they roll in the disapproval chart, it's very similar, but it's more of like a direct effect's going to happen right then and there. And just like the disapproval die, it's going to go higher the more each failed power check increases the chance of that. So like increasing your disapproval rating, you increase your psychic dissonance rating. So that's sort of similar to a cleric. Anyway, you get a D7 for hit points. Their saving throws kind of go up equally. You start at 1, 1, and 1, and they go up every 4 levels. They are limited number of powers that a scion can get, so they aren't going to just get. They get like 4 at first level, and there isn't a level system per se for the scion powers. There is a tier system and a max tier for powers. So the way I read this is that a scion can pick a number of powers, but they while they can take lower tier powers, they can't take beyond their max tier. And the focus points go up. It looks like 2 per level they get. So your 4 disciplines, as I said, were psychometabolism, clairsentience, psychokinesis, and telepathy. Psychometabolism is linked to stamina, clairsentience to luck, psychokinesis to personality, and telepathy to intelligence. So what that means is that with this character class, there's a lot of utility, and there's a lot of options for what your stats are, what you can be. So if you're dead set in playing a scion and one of your stats is great, and it's one of these 4, you're going to be okay. If you're, spread out, you're going to be okay as well. But what it also means is that in a campaign where you think, well, I can only be a warrior, I have a high strength and a high stamina, if you'd like to play, you can play anything you want, it's DCC, for heck's sake. But if you'd like to play something else that's going to take advantage of your high stats, you could look at playing a psycho-metabolic specializing scion. It's an option for you. So I kind of noted there were like kind of 4 class types, if you will. There's you can specialize in one of the 4, or try to play the jack of all trades, which could also be fun. But I think at higher level gameplay, the utility of having all those powers might be eclipsed by other players that can maybe do those things instead. Psionic powers do have 5 varieties. There's assists, attacks, defends, manipulates, and transcendent. The assists are just powers that essentially give you boost to like skill checks and things like that. The attacks are what you would imagine they would be. Then you have your defends. Again, they're like what you expect those to be. Manipulates let you change things around your character, and transcends are like, they read to me like they're like almost like the superpower versions. I'll give you an example. A psychometabolic character, their assists would be at first tier. Assist saves versus poison and disease would be assist. Attack would be vertigo. Defend is healing mantra. Manipulate is system detox, and transcendental is perfect form. So your attack is something you do against someone else. Your defend is going to help you. Your manipulate is going to do something to something else. And your transcendental is something just awesome. My only kind of beef, now it's only a 64-page book. My only beef with this whole section here is that I don't like the name of the assist powers. I think assist persuasion rolls as a telepathy power. It could have been something more. Something more psionic-y, maybe. Maybe not. Again, I think there's a lot of creativity in here. So for the rest of the names, they all felt great. Kinetic Damper, Thermokinesis, Distraction, Guided Strike, Invoke Weakness, Second Chance, Assist melee damage rolls. That just kind of doesn't fit. So that's one of my tweaks that I figure is something I would have maybe done a little differently. But again, I don't have the ability to write like this, so I can't. I feel weird making a comparison like that. So to describe how a power may work, I thought I'd discuss just one power in particular and just go through that single power. So command is a tier 2 telepathy power, and the base DC is a 15, and on a save, will save to get around it. And you make a roll, and you're going to make your telepathy, so it's intelligence based. You make your D20 plus your focus die. Let's say you're 2 points focused in, so a D20 plus a D4, D3, D4, plus, let's say it's a plus 2 intelligence. So a D20 plus a D4 plus a 2 intelligence. You want to beat the base DC of 15. Now, then you look at your focus die. If you beat the 15, great. You're going to get, for one round, an intelligent opponent will obey a one-word command regardless of any communication barriers. This cannot be used to make them perform suicidal actions or majorly violate their alignment. Cool. Then you look at your D4. And if your four-sider, your focus die, reads a 3 or a 4, the command can be up to 3 words and the effect lasts 1d3 plus 1 rounds. Better. Let's say you had, 5 points invested, 5 focus points in telepathy. Okay, so D3, D4, I'm counting my fingers, D5, D6, D7. And you roll a 7. Any creature, intelligent or not, can be affected, and targets can be forced to take actions that violate their alignment. So, just like a wizard or a cleric is going to have that ability to get a better result based on how high they roll, it's not the entire result, it is the focus die result. So you can still have a success, but fudge the focus die. Just like if you are a warrior, you can have a great success without rolling high on your deed die. That can happen as well. That's the biggest change in the magic. Other than that, I don't see anything in here. I read through it a couple times that limits how many times a scion can use a power. There's no power points. I think I said that earlier. There's no power points, and I expected those. They're not in here. That's something that was in 2nd edition and 3rd edition, 3.5, and 4. You just can keep casting or keep powering, and your dissonance goes up. And you can't lose anything. So in that respect, it's like a cleric. So that's powers in a nutshell. I mean, Force Shield, if you get a base success of 13, you summon a barrier that surrounds you for +2 AC for your Scion level rounds. And if you get like a 7 on the force die, the focus die, the duration of power increases to a Scion level times a D5 in a round. So I mean, it's a good mix of powers. So the defend ones are things like hypercognition. You get a success and it lets you avoid danger and harm. So a bonus to your initiative rolls, saving throws, and AC. So anyway, so those are how the powers work. There are quite a few powers in here. I don't have the exact count. I probably should have done that. I didn't. I'm sorry. Let's see here. You're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know, about 48 powers. That's not right. Yeah, there's 3. I think there's like 48 powers in here. Give or take 1 or 2. So, but enough to get your character rolling, really. When you look at the psionic part that didn't work for me, I got to discuss psionic duels for a second. And I think it's just, the concept's cool. Just the concept for spell dueling is cool. But, I mean, I've listened to the Spellburn dueling, the spell duel mechanics and the spell duel description a couple times, and that throws me a bit. I think if you're going to do spell dueling or psionic dueling, make sure all the players involved in that are ready to go and know the rules. And as a judge, you have to know the rules as well, very well. But essentially what in a psionic duel is happening is a psion is using one power, one discipline against another. So psychometabolism versus clairsentience. And there's a chart, a table, that kind of discusses, how they attack and defend against each other and the bonuses and advantages and disadvantages they have against each other. And then both psions roll, and the difference of the roll, of the winner to the loser, goes into this pool called subjugation. And they can build that up each round or cash it in for nasty effects. For instance, if a psychometabolist is attacking a telepath and gets 10 subjugation, the targets and decides to cash them in on a round. The target's digestive system begins a violent purge out of both ends, lasting the psion level times 2 rounds. So essentially, in subjugation from a psychometabolist, he's going to give you diarrhea and vomiting. That's pretty gross. Clairsentience barrages the mind with too many possibilities and outcomes. So if there was an advantage of a 13, due to a rupture of the target's destiny, the next time they spend luck, they must spend twice as much as normal. At half the effect, i.e. spend 2 points to alter a die roll by 1. So, I mean, there's no exact power being used, unlike Spell Duel, where it's like Magic Missile versus Magic Shield. It's not quite like that. You're just using the whole brunt of your powers against someone else's powers. So, I think that I kind of get the idea. I just don't know practically, first of how many times the Scion's going to fight a Scion, and second off, how much I'd want to do that in a game if it wouldn't bog things down. For me, I like to GM on the fly, so if I have to break out a rulebook and start digging through it, it can kind of like slow the game down. So I think I would be very comfortable with these rules. I think, though, in terms of what they can do to another player character or whatever, I think it's really cool, the idea of making someone have uncontrollable diarrhea in the game. I think that'd be funny and make some memorable stories, so why not, right? All right. But the book is not just limited to powers. Obviously, as in any psionic book, it needs more. It needs monsters, it needs magical items and whatnot. So, and I'm happy to say, there are psychic items listed in this book. You have your living crystal weapons, which function like magical weapons, intelligent magical weapons. They have a attack bonus, they have a personality and intelligence, just like they were a character. They have a certain hardness, so they can't be broken easily. And they may have different gifts or powers. For instance, they may have a favored foe, like insects. They may have an alignment or goal. Actually, they do have an alignment or goal. And like protect all who teach and preserve knowledge if they're lawful. Or sunder the power of the wealthy and privileged if they're chaotic. The swords or axes or whatever, it does list, it can be any weapon really. They may affect the user. If the user is not following the goal, they can try to force them into following a goal. They have personalities. So you roll on a D200 on page 49, and maybe your weapon is fearful, or perhaps it is slow. Or you roll a D3 actually first, see how many of those they have. Minor gifts, adds 5 to wielder's base move. Against the favored foe, the weapon gains a +2 to hit, +2 damage, and +2 to critical hit range. Major gifts, destroy characters' minds and can heal hit dice equal to a bonus level, things like that. So definitely, if you find a living crystal weapon, keep it, unless it wants to kill someone you don't want to kill and you don't want it to swing you to its will. So, I think that rhymed. Psychogenic baubles. Let's go over those briefly. These are just cool little items. I looked at them, and to me they remind me of ciphers from the Cypher system, probably because they play a lot of Cypher system next to DCC. But they could be anything, and you can only carry so many. And some grant perfect vision and lighting, others give you a beam attack, heal a hit point per turn, things like that. So they're cool little items that you throw in a game, and characters are limited in how many they can have, and if they're equal to their personality modifier +1 with a minimum of 1. So high personality characters, these things are free. There's these Brahm jewels, which are things you can affix to your forehead, and they treat dissonance. Memory tomes, I don't quite understand. You can read the memory of a character, of someone else, and it's at random. So I'm sure if you were going to have an NPC with a memory tome, that'd be kind of cool. But at random, I'm not sure how that's going to help if you find a book that has a ceremony with a lesson that's sorrowful in it. I didn't see the mechanics of that, but it's still cool. All right, so the end, the Psychic Menagerie. There are monsters in here. Everything from the Lobstrasa Tyrant, which let me show you a picture of that. It's in here somewhere. Anyway, the Lobstrasa Tyrant. Old school. There's no picture sharing because I'm not editing this, sorry. But that's, nasty creature. And then my favorite, the Braingineer. And just to discuss for a second, sort of where I said that the game is that the reading through this felt tight and felt well put together. I gotta discuss the Brain Engineer. The Brain Engineer may be one of my favorite monsters I've ever seen in a DCC game. 2 reasons. One, it's a brain in the jar, it's psychic and has powers. So it actually gives you the chance of having that psychic duel if you want against a player character. So if you want to try those rules, the Brain Engineer can do it. And they're pretty tough. They have an 18 armor class, 3d8 hit dice. You can face a whole squadron of them coming after you maybe. My favorite thing about them is that on page 57, there's a random Brain Engineer task chart. So I love random charts. I love any way I can generate an adventure without having to think about it. And you roll 2d6, and if you roll, let's say a 5, the Brain Engineers are setting up a hidden med lab, capturing local person of note, begin mass production of clones of that person of note. So it could be like a local janitor, and they're cloning them. It's like, why would they do that? Well, why not? That's an adventure right there. So for me, take that and a bunch of Rory story cubes, which are my new crutch, and you've got a whole adventure written. Maybe add the Lobstrasa Tyrant just for good measure, but a bunch of Brain Engineers in there, maybe throw some zombies in there and say that they're being produced too, or give the clones some stats and make them zombies. Whatever. Make the Brain Engineers undead. Grab a map and toss that in, and you're golden. So the book ends with monsters, and again, overall, I think if you want to include psionics, there are certainly other psychic. I think there's a psychic knight that was listed in Crawljammer, which I've seen him play and fits great. But if you want to have that psionic feel of second edition, of maybe some parts of third edition, this is going to definitely get you there. So I have a scoring system. Finally, I'm going to score things on a 3 to a 3d6 in order. So a 3d6, so a 3 to 18. And I'm going to, I don't think I'm being too generous in saying I'm going to give this a 16 or 18. What I loved about it was it really does try to cover everything that's going to give you that psychic feel in your campaign. There's just a couple things in the game that just didn't click for me, and those being really psychic duels, which I would hit DCC for that too, for spell duels. And the second thing would be just the powers. The powers are like the aid powers, where it's just like, boost personality and things like that. The assist powers. I just think a different name, assist crafting rolls, could be something else. Maybe not. I don't know what else to call it. I'm getting choked up over it. Anyway, so there you go. There's my first video review. So if you want to pick up Mind Games by Reid Filippo, make sure to go over to DriveThruRPG and just look it up. And I'll have a link below for it if you want to go that link. Highly recommend picking it up. Grab it now. Try it in your game. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. If you're running a post-apocalyptic game or a sci-fi DCC game, it's definitely going to fit. I can't say how it's going to fit with Mutant Crawl Classics yet. I've only seen the basic, I don't want to say trailer, what's it called, the preview for it. So I'm not sure how quite it would fit with that. Maybe it would fit fine. I would assume it probably will. I'd have to see how mutations are going to work in full. I've played with them just in the playtest, not the playtest, the promo game, Museum at the End of Time, and they were just minor mutations. But I hope they work for that as well, because I think this is going to be a cool addition. So that's it. That's my review. First time reviewing here on Living for Crits with this kind of review. This I'm going to give it points and weigh it against other things. I don't know if you'll see any negative reviews from me or very negative reviews. As I've said in my blog, I have a hard time giving negative reviews. If I don't like something, I'm just not going to review it, because I feel like it's still someone's passion that they have spent a lot of time on. And if that's the case, there are other people that can give them the negative energy or to be critical. Because not all reviews are bad and they're being negative. Sometimes it's just they're going to be critical. I have a hard time doing that, just in general. So, but with this, I have to worry about it because this is a cool product. I'm happy I own it. So that's it. If you enjoy this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely, if you want to see me review something else, I have maybe. If you know what I have a lot of other DCC products. If there's anything in particular that we review, hit me up with a comment, and I'll see if I can get a hold of that, or I might already have it. I have a lot of the zines already. A lot of the crawl jammers are crawling to the broken moons. Was it behind the silver screen or beyond the silver screen? Just pick that up. Yeah. So, all right. Well, have a good afternoon, evening, morning, whenever you're watching this, and thanks for watching.